How's it going? It is Dr. Jonathan Locust Jr., CEO of Rise. We are back with another episode of Know Your Stars. We got our expert practitioner, Dr. Jeannie. Dr. Jeannie, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great this morning, Jonathan. It's always so fun to record these sessions with you and bring this information out to our audience. I'm believing today is going to be full of wonderful information as it usually is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're so happy to have you on this morning. And just real quick before we get started, we want to just send just positive energy for all of those who have been impacted by the hurricanes, even living in Tampa. So those who still don't even have power. I know there's people here who still don't have power. Just know that the Rise team, the practitioners, we are sending you positive energy. We're sending you love. We're sending you light, that everything can continue on and progress on in your life. So we want to just say that very, very, very quickly. But again, we are back with Dr. Jeannie, who spent a career as a technology project manager, made a shift and started to really focus on what her true calling is: evolutionary astrology. And one of the things that Dr. Jeannie offers, one of the services, is for individuals, organizations, and companies to be able to know their stars and to be able to then know and understand your birth chart, what that is, and so forth. So we're super excited again to have Dr. Jeannie back with us, and then to get into the solar cusp of Scorpio. So Dr. Jeannie, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Jonathan, Dr. Jonathan. And yes, evolutionary astrology will actually reveal to us what our purpose in this lifetime is. So that is a passion of mine, and it was born of my passion and belief that we should all be living our cosmic destiny. And with that, I'm going to start our screen share, and we will turn my pointer on here. Pointer. Well, yes, play from start, and his pointer. Pointer is very important. And so here we are on the solar cusp of Scorpio. Scorpio energy, which is going to be prevalent October 22nd through November 20th. The sun will be in the zodiac sign of Scorpio, and that's how we define a solar season. And Scorpio calls us to look at the hidden, wounded places in our psyche, to dig deep for healing and regeneration. So as we go through this information, I'd like everybody to tap into those places. And let us all remember that every soul is called into existence to fill a definite cosmic need.
I love that.
So true. And so in our last few recordings, we looked at the chart of the Dalai Lama, wonderful, healing, spiritual Cancerian man. And this being the Scorpio solar season, I thought to myself, well, Scorpio is all about digging deep into the psyche. It is psychology. It is psychoanalysis. And the first name that came to my mind was that of Sigmund Freud. So Sigmund Freud is the father of psychoanalysis. He was born in 1856. He was an Australian neurologist and known as the father of psychology, psychoanalysis. And that's defined as a method of evaluating and treating pathologies seen as originating from conflicts in the psyche. What's really interesting, Dr. Jonathan, is this was the birth of individuality in terms of it's okay for me to have these pains and seek to heal them.
Mm.
And so to me, this was self-discovery being born, the field of being able to do that for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and I just appreciate Sigmund Freud and not only you picking his chart, but even what the work he's done on dream analysis. And even those who, which a lot of, when I take notes about my dream, I use a kind of a Freudian interpretation of dreams. So certainly someone who, like we talked about before this, was living into their purpose, by being able to fill that space they had in the universe, by being able to be of service to others in those particular ways.
Very well said. What is also true is Carl Jung, Carl Gustav Jung, the greatest psychologist of the last century, who brought to us the notion of archetypes and who really allowed us to birth this branch of astrology that I'm passionate about, which is evolutionary astrology. And he was a student of Sigmund Freud.
Mm. Well,
So,
and I'll just add to that. Sigmund Freud's nephew, Edward Bernays. I don't know if you're familiar with Edward Bernays,
no,
was one of the ones who like invented like modern day advertising. One of the reasons that women started smoking cigarettes, people started eating breakfast because the farmers unions hired them. So even like the work that has came from Sigmund Freud and the people and the research, I would say, that's came, and the things that have impacted our society greatly from Sigmund Freud. So I'm excited to dig in.
yes, wow. Well, I did know of that gentleman, and I investigated, the birth of marketing, and it really is psychology based. So it's very, very intense. I'd like to point out some things about Sigmund Freud's chart. And I had never looked at his chart before. I certainly understand, the glyphs and the symbols and all of this about astrology, but I'm going to give us, our audience, we must always remember, Dr. Jonathan, our audience, a little bit of another primer, which is, this is the birth chart. We all have one, of course, we were all born. And ours is unique. There will never be another one like yours, never another like mine. We are completely unique individuals. When you were born, the birth chart, also known as the natal chart, is a picture, it's a snapshot of the heavens. And where the planets were located in terms of the zodiac signs and houses really established who you were to be in this lifetime, and really does tell the story about the life that you're meant to live. So in the outer circle here, we see the zodiac signs, the glyphs, and we've heard of the sign of Leo. Well, that's the glyph for the sign of Leo, and this is the glyph for the sign of Cancer. So all 12, there are only 12, and that is 12. It is a wheel. And so in the inner side, we have houses. So we have houses 1 all the way around to 12. The houses never move. They always hold those 1 through 12 positions. But these outer glyphs do move. And how they move is based on the sign that was on the horizon at one's birth. And the sign that was on the horizon when Sigmund Freud was born was the sign of Scorpio. So we pick Scorpio. The interesting thing about the rising sign, which is also known as the ascendant, is for all of us, whatever our ascendant is, it is how we express ourselves behaviorally in the world. That's quite a word, but it's really our best path to self-actualization. And as I tell you more, Dr. Jonathan, about some points in Sigmund Freud's chart, you'll see that he lived his mission. It's astounding to me, but he absolutely did. So the rising is how you get your act together. And here we see it in the psychoanalytical sign of Scorpio, the dig deep, the not afraid to dig deep. Somebody who has scorpionic energy came into this world without, I won't say without, they have the fear of digging, but they're willing to dig. They're willing to overcome that fear and look deeper than most of us. We all have Scorpio in our chart somewhere. Some have planets, or some have it on the rising, the ascendant. And so I'm going to leave our little bit of a primer there, Dr. Jonathan. Would that be cool?
Yeah,
pretty much get it out? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. The other thing that's interesting about Sigmund Freud is he had very strong Taurus energy, and you can see that by these little bulls here. There's 4 of them. That we call a stellium. He had a Taurus stellium. And Taurians are, excuse me, they're the sign that's most connected to nature. They're the sign that's most connected to instinct. Just a moment.
And that's why I'm listening a little bit more carefully, because as you know, my birthday, May 19th, I'm a Taurus. So I am listening just a little bit more intently.
You are. And well, yes, we'll leave it there. You have Taurian energy and Scorpionic energy. And so he had an attunement to instinct. Very definitely an earthly attunement to instinct. What's interesting is it falls in the 7th house. Now, the 7th house is where our life takes place. So a 3rd house is the house of communication and perception. 7th house, I'll go straight there. It's all about relationships, all kinds of relationships. And so this was in his 7th house. His instinct would have been strong in his counseling sessions. And he had a pleasant mood in his communication. And that is brought about by the fact that he has Mercury, which is all about perception, talking, listening, communication, in the pleasant sign of Taurus. Okay, the silent sign. He would have listened silently and intently to what his clients were saying and not saying, right? Because of his Scorpio rising. He was peeling back at all times what they were not saying. So interesting.
And Dr. Jeanne, just to ask, in this Scorpionic energy, is it judgmental? Is it not judgmental? So as you're listening, I'm assuming that people are feeling comfortable sharing because they're not feeling judged while sharing. Am I correct in that thinking?
You are correct. And thank you for bringing up with one of my famous little lines and stories about Scorpio. If you are one with Scorpio energy, you have likely heard many times variations of the sentence, I've never told anyone this before, but I feel like I don't know you, but I feel like I can share this with you. And if you've heard that, you definitely have Scorpionic strong energy. And for those of us that have Scorpionic friends and people we've known that we've shared our deepest secrets with, it is because the Scorpios will dig deep into their own inner psyches. They'll see the darkness that others are afraid to see. And having seen that darkness, they will not judge others when they reveal their darkness. And hey, who hasn't done some things that we wish we didn't do? All of us, right? And we all would love to meet up with a Scorpion so we can get it off our chest, so to speak, right? So we want to share that because in sharing it, it becomes less painful. And so Dr. Freud's clients were sharing with him. They were unloading to him, but he was able to take it in. He was not judging them, and that opened them up more and more. And so let's see some other bits and points. He was a mystic. He was a spiritual man, and some people might not think that, but psychology is spirituality. And we see that energy in the fact that he's got this is his past life, okay, in the mystical house of Pisces, in the 12th house. So in his past life, he was born to break away from the status quo and counsel others. But I want to come back here and get a little ahead of myself to this Pisces energy, this mystical energy. He's got the planet Neptune in the 4th house of inner work. And Neptune is all about illusions and dreams, okay? Illusions and dreams. So he was digging deep into his dreams as a mystic would. And then he's got Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion. And he was bringing this message, his spiritual message, through psychology out to the world. out to the world.
That's real, and that's just, I think that's so cool because even as you talked about that Taurian energy and that Taurian energy being earth energy being grounded, being able to take all of those different heavy energies that people are dealing with and experiencing on a regular basis, and then having that grounded Taurian earth energy connection to be able then to be able to
Mhm.
release. So that's like you said, you can't make this up.
You can't make this up. And I'm just, aware of the time. But the other thing you can't make up is for everyone, we all have a 10th house. We all have what's called a midheaven. And this is where we are and how we are to do our cosmic work in the world. It is our career, okay? It's our profession. It's our standing in the world, which is bigger than a career, right? His was in the sign of Leo, which is the performer. All
Mm.
right. And so in the sign of Leo, and I made some notes here because I really wanted to get it out here. This is the call of destiny, his destiny. He was born to have a true public mission in life. And he was born to touch the lives of others that he would never know. He
Wow.
would never know. Very interesting, right? Let's see some other bits and points. Up here, maybe it's a lot of astrology speak, but some of our audience understands it, and hopefully more will come visit us, Dr. Jonathan, so we can teach them about their chart.
Hmm.
But the 8th house is the home place for the sign of Scorpio. And so it has scorpionic energy in its own right. And in its 8th house of psychology, we find this planet called Saturn. Saturn is the father.
Mm.
Father in terms of the elder, the wise one, the grounded one, the structured one, the one that you feel safe around. All right. So
Yeah.
here he
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
elder with, and that was in the communicative sign of Gemini. He did a lot of talking. He did a lot of listening. He did a lot of perceiving. And his moon is here. He cared deeply about his clients and he cared deeply about what they were going through. And these are the bits and the parts. Down here, we've got this sign. Maybe a lot of people have heard about Chiron, the wounded healer. And God, we never want to think we have a wound. But the truth about Chiron is it is a wound from which we can heal, and we are to heal, and then we are to heal others from what we've learned by healing our wound. So it's very important to understand what our Chiron energy is. His Chiron was in the sign of Aquarius, which was, he very much felt like an outcast in society.
Mm.
And in a lot of ways, he was seen that way, you see? And so he had this juxtaposition between that, and yet he was to be out in the world, in society, doing his great work. And so that Chiron, when we talk about the birth chart and how it reveals your karmic predicament, Chiron is part of that karmic predicament. And I would say that he certainly overcame it, although to the end of his days, he may have not felt as though he did, because he keeps pulling you back. But he did transcend and he did end up in the community, which is what Aquarius is all about.
Hmm. Hmm. Which we're going to be talking about.
We're going to get to Aquarius. And so this is Dr. Sigmund Freud. I got super excited as I went through this because it just further showed me another case of how evolutionary astrology is true.
Mhm.
And I want to leave with this slide with this one favorite statement of Dr. Jonathan and mine, which is, when you don't follow your nature, there is a hole in the universe where you were supposed to be. And I would say Dr. Freud followed his nature.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so wonderful. And now we will, and Dr. Jonathan, I was just thinking, as next month when we do, we leave Scorpio and we go into the fun sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is fire, right? So we're not going to be looking deep within. We're going to be surveying the world. But in Sagittarius, I'm thinking of how cool, I'm going to find a cool chart, you know, of somebody that really is a Sagittarian, and we'll learn about it that way. So we're in the Scorpio solar season for a month. You're all going to feel Scorpionic energy. If you have Scorpio in your chart, you're going to feel it more and more. But what if you know what your stars are, you know where your Scorpio energy is in your chart, and you know which arena of your life is going to be ignited. That's an important, another reason to know our stars. Scorpio is the wizard, right? The psychoanalyst, the detective, the hypnotist, the truth teller. Scorpios will dig deep to the truth, but they're also the guardian. And we see that in Dr. Freud. Penetrating eye contact, say hello to a Scorpio. Feeling like you want to share a secret, say hello to a Scorpio. Feeling like getting secrets, you're a Scorpio. The evolutionary goal is to truly know and care for our soul. Just going to do a time check. Yes. To truly know and care for our soul. And in doing so, we find the foundation for our happiness, recovery, and self-healing. And positive energy, truthfulness, honest penetration. Negative energy, well, if you know a true cynic in your life, or if you are full of cynicism, you've met Scorpio. Right? Now, imagine this burden of Scorpio when you think of Dr. Freud, seeing the seeds of decay and deception inherent in all things. That hurt him. And I got to believe it propelled him further to want to get to the language that would help us all understand.
Mm-hmm. Yep. How do you
And
navigate?
so, pardon me?
Like to knowledge and to be able to navigate.
Yes, 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 yes. So the action during Scorpio season is to bravely look within and embrace our strong emotions, to be honest, as we witness what we don't really want to see, and to be courageous enough to care for our own soul. That feels interesting.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I'll move our lovely little pictures out of the way here. And we get over to Scorpio consciousness rising, Dr. Jonathan.
Yeah.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. So when we're looking at Scorpio conscious rising, we look at firstly like the two planets that it's ruled by. It's ruled by Mars, the development of will, right? That willpower. And Pluto, the realization of one's destiny. And as Dr. Jeanne mentioned, that Scorpio is all about digging deep. And that digging deepness is because that wanting to seek oneness and union once more. And a lot of times, I know through music, a lot of times the Scorpio automatically gets associated with sexual activity, sexual identity, maybe over sexuality. And we share that to say, and we talk about all the other attributes of Scorpio, because we do know a lot of times it gets narrowed down into that particular area. Mm-hmm. And the reason it does, as Dr. Jeanne and I were talking even before this, is because of, again, that seeking union, that rebirth, death, rebirth, transformation, evolution. Even in the activity, that's an opportunity to really seek oneness. Yes. So when we look at Scorpio and all the full attributes that it has, we look at how it's ruled by Pluto and wanting to reveal the wounds of the past karma. Mm-hmm. And making sure we're asking questions. Where do you carry your wise wound? And what gave it to you? Where must you go to retrieve it? Right? That's that digging deep.
Yes.
That's that digging deep work. And the Mars comes in because as you're digging deep, you need that willpower to continue on. And then, so we look at how does this all come together? Well, know your stars. Because if you know your stars, these energies are playing out regardless. They've been playing out for centuries. They're going to continue to play out for centuries. So the best thing to do is to be in alignment with it and to be knowledgeable of how these energies and this flow of energies can be utilized to propel you, your family, and your loved ones forward. That's what we're doing at Concy Rise. That's what Dr. Jeanne is doing with Know Your Stars, is we're helping and being of service to help progress.
Yes.
And allowed to be able to do that digging deep, just like the ruling planets of Pluto and Mars. Dr. Jeanne, I'll turn it back over to you.
Very well said, Dr. Jonathan. You have a role as an evolutionary astrologer. Really well said. And you opened up and you brought up that taboo subject of sexuality. That and death are in the occult are all what we call taboo subjects, and they are Scorpio. And so Scorpio is willing to talk about and dig into these taboo areas of life like no other sign. And that is why sexuality is equated to them. It is that digging deep. And it is all about seeking that oneness back to our creator. Is Scorpio. Yes. Excellent. And so in terms of self-development, which is, key for Concy Rise, this is the hard area, folks. This is the real hard area. We all want to gloss over it, but unless we heal our wounds, we've heard it, it's a cliche, you're going to heal your wounds to transcend this lifetime. Will you heal your wounds to heal your soul, to ready it for the next lifetime? Otherwise, these wounds continue to play out. They don't go away for centuries and centuries. They come forward, and they are your karmic predicament. So if we don't, I heard it well said by my teacher, if we don't deal with our stuff deals with us.
It's gonna get dealt with. It's gonna get dealt with. Either you're gonna do it or it's gonna do it.
It's going to do it, right? And so with that, Dr. Jonathan, we'll move on. Let's talk about the new moon.
Yes.
The new moon is in Scorpio on November 1st at about 9 o'clock in the morning on Eastern time. So in this new moon energy, now remember, for our folks that have been with us, or for new folks, I'll tell you, it's about new beginnings and fresh starts. New moon energy is all about that. Whether you know it and take advantage of it, whatever you're thinking, doing, feeling in the energy of the new moon, you are birthing. You are birthing. And so it's important to know it so you can focus it and birth it to the direction that you'd like to. Remember, our mind, our free will is absolutely in play here. And so with Scorpio new moon, we're asked to dig deep and to risk honesty with ourselves. We plant seeds, we set new intentions, we get out our new moon wishes journal that hopefully you've all got going nowadays, and you write out about 10 wishes for the Scorpionic season and Scorpio energy, supporting those seeds that you'd like to plant. On November 15th, we have a full moon in Taurus. So it's so interesting. We've dug deep. We've felt it. We've gone really deep within us. We're going to be coming out of Scorpio season around the 22nd of November. And at this full moon, we're asked to be peaceful, to feel what we've uncovered, to go into the silence, and to lose yourself in music, to just be peaceful. Be the silent totem animal that you equate yourself with, and to be introspective and reflect on your life path. And I always recommend at the full moon to journal that. Any thoughts you might have on full moon, new moon, Dr. Jonathan?
Yeah, well, I'll just share again for our listeners who's been with us. New moon is when you're looking at it. It's hard to kind of see what it looks like. You see an outline of a circle in the sky, and then the full moon. That's when you see the full moon, and that's when your new moon, like Dr. Jenny said, those wishes, you're writing them down, you're making it real, you're taking it something from these thoughts to actionizing it and making it real. So you're physically writing it down because that then makes it real. And then for the full moon, we're letting go. We're releasing. And that's what's so beautiful about the process, right? You can share, give, and then release.
Right.
That's all I got to say, Dr. Jenny.
That's beautiful. I couldn't have said it better. Excellent. And so let's just take a moment before we have to close out. Again, it goes so fast. This particular event, November 18th, is a big day on the calendar. I've got it marked off. I'm planning a celebration. This is when Pluto, the planet Pluto transformation, is going to leave the sign of Capricorn where it's been since 2008. And Capricorn is all about structure. We've heard this. It's all about government. It's all about all things structure. And we've seen toppling in 2008, we saw the financial market come apart and during the housing crisis. And we've seen a lot of things going on in politics and things happening around the world that have really changed everything that one might have remembered from before 2008. Really, really changed everything. We're coming into the age of Aquarius. Dr. Jonathan and I will continue to talk about the fact that we are all here at this moment in time to be part of this age. There's a lot of moving parts that are happening right now that culminate, and this is unusual for this time of life and period. We are forging a collective society. This is a best of us society. It's going to take a lot of years. We're just really dipping a toe into it, but we're all here to do our part. And again, and I know it sounds like a broken record because I absolutely know that we're all meant to live our cosmic destiny. And when you know your birth chart energies, you have insight into what your cosmic destiny is. You have insight into your karmic predicaments. You have the information that you need to make better choices in life. Better choices makes a better life. And so with that, Dr. Jonathan, I turn it over to you for closing. We're at that time.
Yeah, you were extremely accurate in your assessment that it always goes so quickly. Always. So again, we thank you all for joining us. We will be back next month with another episode talking about the solar season, telling you how to handle the new moon and the full moon, and going a little bit more detail of the age of Aquarius, because we're all here at this time for a reason. Yeah. It's not accidental. Dr. Jeanne even shared, look at the chart right now, and you can see how these things these ages have captured time periods in our lives that have led to certain outcomes. So it's tracked. You can do the research. So we're here for a reason. And what we want to do is continue on with sharing not only what our reasons are, but to help, to be of service and help you understanding what your reason is. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.